but what people believed they were seeing. Fans began slowing the clip down, zooming in, circling shadows, comparing timestamps, arguing over why, because this wasn't just about a blurry frame, it was about trust. Many viewers felt they had spent years watching carefully curated experiences, only to now wonder what might have been happening just outside the camera's view. None of this was framed as fact. Speculation itself became the story as the clip continued circulating. Commentary channels leaned into the reactions rather than the footage itself. They replayed old interviews, not to accuse, but to ask why certain answers now sounded different. Pauses that once felt natural were reinterpreted as hesitation. Smiles that once seemed confident were now described as tense. Fans are shocked not because anyone confirmed wrongdoing, but because the narrative they thought they understood suddenly felt unstable. In comment sections, supporters defended Erika fiercely, saying she has always been composed under pressure and that reading into grainy footage was unfair. Critics pushed back, arguing that public figures invite scrutiny and that questions are part of the territory. The chief of staff's silence only added fuel to the fire. Not because silence equals guilt, but because silence leaves room for imagination. In online spaces, imagination grows fast, behind the scenes. At least according to online chatter, this situation has reportedly caused tension within fan communities themselves. Longtime followers found themselves divided, not over facts, but over interpretations. Some felt protective, urging patience and reminding others that rumors thrive on ambiguity. Others frustrated, saying that too many unexplained moments had piled up over time. Phrases like "fans are shocked" and "emotions ran high" weren't exaggerations. They reflected how deeply people had emotionally invested in personalities they only knew through screens. It wasn't about politics or policy, it was about perceived authenticity. People want to believe that what they see publicly is close to the truth, and when that belief wavers, disappointment can turn into suspicion very quickly. Commentary also focused heavily on the idea of the so-called third person, not as a confirmed individual, but as a symbol. Analysts online suggested that this figure represents everything unseen in high-pressure organizations. The meetings not filmed, the conversations off mic, the decisions made quietly. Some creators described it like a reality show twist. The moment when viewers realize there's more happening than what the main cast acknowledges. Dialogues were reenacted in speculative ways, not as claims, but as imagined scenarios. People said things like, maybe this was someone saying, "We need to keep this contained." Or maybe it was someone just passing by at the wrong moment. These dramatized interpretations weren't meant to declare truth, but to explore possibilities. And audiences responded because it felt like a mystery unfolding in real time. Family members and close associates weren't actually speaking publicly, but fans projected reactions onto them anyway. Comments suggested that if this were a show, this would be the episode where everyone retreats to private rooms and phones start buzzing. People imagined tense conversations, raised voices, and emotional confrontations, even while acknowledging that this was all speculation. The power of the story came from how easily viewers could picture the drama. Years of reality television and online storytelling have trained audiences to fill in gaps with emotion, and this situation fit that mold perfectly. Betrayal, even the hint of it, is one of the strongest hooks in entertainment. And this narrative leaned heavily into that feeling without ever confirming it. What kept the momentum going was how every response, or lack of response, became part of the narrative. When Erika appeared publicly looking calm, supporters said it showed confidence and control. Critics said it looked rehearsed. When the chief of staff avoided the spotlight, some said it was professionalism. Others said it was avoidance. No action was neutral anymore. Even unrelated news was pulled into the discussion as fans tried to connect dots that may not have been connected at all. Commentary creators repeatedly reminded viewers that these were reports and reactions, not verified conclusions, but the emotional weight remained. Once a story reaches this level of attention, disclaimers don't always slow the imagination. By the end of this phase of the discussion, the footage itself almost didn't matter anymore. It had become a catalyst rather than the centerpiece. The real drama lived in the reactions, the theories, and the sense that something once simple now felt complicated. Viewers weren't waiting for a verdict, they were waiting for a moment, a statement, a clarification, or even a denial that felt personal instead of polished. Until that happens, the story continues to live in the space between what is seen and what is believed. And in that space, speculation thrives, emotions stay elevated, and every new clip or comment feels like it could tip the balance, even if it never actually does. The online didn't slow down after the first wave of speculation, it intensified. Once people accepted that this was being discussed as commentary and not confirmed truth, they felt freer to dig deeper. Timelines filled with side-by-side clips, screenshots, and long threads breaking down moments that had previously gone unnoticed. According to circulating commentary, fans began pointing out how often Erica and the chief of staff appeared together during high-pressure moments in the past year. Not as proof of anything improper, but as a pattern that suddenly felt interesting in hindsight. Viewers said things like, maybe this is normal teamwork, or maybe this is why that moment felt tense. Emotions ran high because people were no longer just watching a clip. They were revisiting an entire history with fresh eyes. Reaction videos leaned heavily into storytelling. Creators spoke slowly, dramatically, reminding audiences that these were reports, rumors, and interpretations floating online. They reenacted imagined conversations, not claiming they happened, but asking viewers to picture the pressure. Someone would say, imagine being in a room where you know the cameras are off. Another voice would reply, imagine realizing later that one camera wasn't. Fans are shocked by how quickly a single idea can rewrite memory. Scenes that once felt forgettable now seemed loaded with meaning. A handshake looked firmer than usual. A laugh sounded shorter. A glance lingered too long. None of this was evidence, but it was compelling and an entertainment-driven commentary. Compelling often matters more than confirmed. Supporters jumped in just as loudly. Many defended Erica, saying that composure under scrutiny has always been her strength. Commentary channels amplified this divide by highlighting both sides. One moment they would read skeptical comments aloud. The next, they would showcase defenders pushing back hard. Phrases like "this proves nothing" and "this changes everything" appeared side by side on screen. The story became less about the footage and more about perception. Viewers began to ask themselves uncomfortable questions. How much do we really know about public figures we follow daily? How much of what we believe is shaped by editing, timing, and narrative framing? The so-called third person became a symbol again, not a confirmed identity, but a placeholder for doubt. That unseen presence represented the idea that there is always more happening than what is shown, according to online chatter. Even people who normally avoid drama found themselves drawn in. They described the situation as feeling like the mid-season twist of a reality show, where alliances suddenly feel unstable. Emotions ran high because audiences are trained to expect revelations. Someone always knows something. Someone always keeps a secret. And someone always gets caught between loyalty and self-preservation. Creators leaned into this familiar structure, carefully reminding viewers that this was commentary while still delivering suspense. Dialogues were dramatized with lines like, "If this gets out, everything changes," or "We just need to stay calm." Not as quotes, but as imagined stress responses that audiences recognized from similar stories. Friends and associates of those involved were dragged into the narrative by association alone. Fans speculated about who would speak first, who would stay quiet, and who might distance themselves. Every social media move was analyzed. A liked post, a deleted comment, a delayed upload all became potential clues. People weren't accusing, they were guessing, but guessing loudly. Some fans expressed exhaustion, saying the constant theorizing was overwhelming. Others admitted they couldn't look away. That tension between fatigue and fascination kept the story alive. It felt unresolved. And unresolved stories invite participation. What stood out most in this phase was how often creators emphasized that no one was claiming absolute truth. Disclaimers were repeated, yet the emotional pull remained strong. Viewers know the difference between confirmed reporting and sensational commentary. But that doesn't stop them from feeling invested. The language used mattered. Words like allegedly, reportedly, and according to online claims became the backbone of the narrative. They allowed space for imagination without crossing into declaration. Still, the impact was real. Reputations felt questioned even if nothing was proven. Trust felt shaken even if no official statement contradicted it by the end of this stretch of the discussion. The community wasn't asking for proof as much as they were asking for clarity. People wanted someone to acknowledge the noise, not to confirm it, but to address it. Silence was interpreted in multiple ways, none of them neutral. Some said staying quiet was wise, letting rumors burn out on their own. Others argued that silence lets stories grow unchecked. This disagreement kept comment sections alive day and night. Viewers refreshed feeds hoping for a sign, a hint, a response that would shift the energy dot. And so the story settled into an uneasy pause. Not resolved, not dismissed, just hovering. The footage had done its job as a spark. Now the fire was being fed by reactions, interpretations, and emotional investment. Nothing had been proven, but everything felt questioned. And in the world of dramatic commentary, that feeling is often enough to keep people watching, waiting, and wondering what detail might suddenly change how everyone sees the situation again. As the discussion stretched into its next phase, the tone online began to shift from shock to strategy. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were predicting. Commentary videos started framing the situation, like a long-running drama where every character has a motive and every silence means something. According to online speculation, the focus slowly moved away from the footage itself and toward what people believed might be happening behind closed doors. Creators talked about pressure, about damage control, about the emotional toll of being at the center of nonstop rumor cycles. Fans are shocked by how quickly sympathy and suspicion can exist side by side. One moment someone says, "This feels unfair." The next moment someone replies, "Maybe." But why hasn't this been addressed clearly? The idea of private conversations became central to the narrative. Commentators imagine tense meetings where voices stay low and phones are checked constantly. Not because anyone confirms such scenes, but because audiences recognize the pattern from countless reality-style stories. When rumors hit, the first instinct is to circle the wagons. Viewers speculated that trusted circles shrank. Information gets compartmentalized, and every person in the room starts wondering who they can rely on. Dialogues were imagined carefully, always framed as not what did. Lines like, "We need to stay ahead of this," or "let it blow over," circulated as hypothetical stress responses. These imagined moments gave the story texture without crossing into claims. Emotional. Conflict became the heart of the commentary. Erica was portrayed by fans in two very different ways depending on who you asked. Some saw her as calm under fire, someone who has weathered storms before and knows when to speak and when to wait. Others described her as visibly burdened, suggesting that even strong composure can hide exhaustion. Neither side claimed certainty, but both sides spoke with feeling. The chief of staff was discussed in similar tones. Supporters framed him as a professional doing what professionals do, keeping focus on operations instead of internet noise. Critics questioned whether that same professionalism could look like avoidance when viewed through a suspicious lens. The family was left divided again, not in real-life terms, but within the shared emotional space of the audience. Fan reactions grew more personal as well. People shared stories of feeling disappointed when public figures they admired faced controversy, even unproven controversy. Others pushed back, saying it was unfair to project personal feelings onto people we don't actually know. This back and forth highlighted why the story resonated so strongly. It wasn't really about one clip or one rumor. It was about how quickly narratives form and how deeply they can affect perception. Emotions ran high because viewers saw pieces of themselves in the situation. The desire for transparency, the fear of being misjudged rarely satisfy. When so many details feel emotionally charged, outside reactions added another layer. People who weren't deeply invested at first started chiming in with fresh perspectives. They questioned why anyone should care so much about speculative commentary. Longtime followers responded by explaining that when you watch someone's career unfold publicly, even rumors feel personal. This exchange highlighted how fandoms create their own emotional ecosystems. Within those spaces, stories don't need confirmation to feel impactful. They need relatability, tension, and the promise of eventual clarity. The pacing of the narrative also became part of the drama. Every day without a statement was framed as another beat in the story. Some creators suggested that timing matters, that speaking too early can backfire just as much as speaking too late. Others argue that letting rumors linger allows them to harden into belief. Again, no one claimed insider knowledge. It was all framed as analysis of how public narratives usually evolve. Still, the audience responded intensely, projecting their own expectations onto the situation. Imagined reactions of friends and colleagues continued to fuel discussion. Fans speculated about quiet support, about private check-ins, about people choosing sides quietly without announcing anything publicly. Even neutral actions were given meaning. A delayed appearance, a change in routine, a shift in tone during unrelated content all became material for interpretation. People weren't accusing, they were reading between lines that may or may not exist. The suspense came from not knowing whether those lines were real or imagined. By the end of this segment of the story, the tension felt heavier. Not explosive, but dense. The narrative had evolved from "what is this clip" to "what does silence mean?" Viewers weren't demanding answers as much as they were bracing for impact. Something felt like it had to give eventually, even if that something was simply the story fading away. Until then, the emotional stakes remained high. Trust, image, and perception were all being debated in real time, fueled by commentary, speculation, and the very human tendency to search for meaning in uncertainty. As the speculation deepened, creators talked about how rumors don't just live online, they seep into real-life routines, relationships, and mental states. According to ongoing discussions, viewers began imagining the emotional weight of waking up every day knowing that thousands of strangers are dissecting your silence. Not because anything has been proven, but because perception has taken on a life of its own. Fans are shocked by how quickly empathy and judgment can overlap. One comment would express concern for the stress involved, while the next would insist that public figures know what they sign up for. Emotions ran high because both perspectives felt valid to different people. The idea of loyalty became a recurring theme in commentary. Creators framed the situation like a loyalty test that no one officially announced but everyone felt. People speculated about who would stand firm, who would distance themselves quietly, and who might eventually feel pressured to speak. Imagined dialogues resurfaced, always hypothetical, always framed as what people think might be happening. Lines like "stay steady" or "don't react yet" were repeated as examples of the kind of advice someone in that position might receive. These dramatized moments weren't accusations. They were reflections of how audiences understand crisis management through years of consuming similar stories. Fan reactions also revealed fatigue. Some viewers said they were tired of theories and wanted something concrete, even if that concrete thing was a denial. Others admitted that the unresolved tension was exactly why they kept coming back. The family was left divided once more in the emotional sense, with one side craving closure and the other thriving on suspense. Commentary channels acknowledged this divide openly, noting that not every viewer wants the same outcome. Some want vindication, others want confirmation. And some just want the story to keep unfolding because it feels like serialized entertainment. Attention also turned toward the so-called third person again, but now less as a mystery figure and more as a narrative device. Commentators suggested that this unseen presence represents the unknown variables in any large organization. The people you don't see, the decisions you don't hear about, the context that never makes it into public view. Fans debated whether focusing on this figure was fair or simply a way to personify uncertainty. Some argued that giving the unknown a face makes it easier to talk about fear and doubt. Others warned that doing so risks turning speculation into assumption. Both sides agreed on one thing: the concept itself had captured the imagination of the audience. As days passed, the lack of dramatic escalation became its own twist. No explosive statements, no surprise appearances, just normal content continuing as usual. Supporters interpreted this as strength and refusal to be rattled. Critics read it as avoidance. Commentators carefully walked the line, reminding viewers that normalcy can be genuine or strategic depending on perspective. This ambiguity kept the suspense alive. Viewers weren't reacting to events anymore. They were reacting to interpretations of non-events. Silence, routine, and restraint became plot points in their own right. Emotional projections grew more vivid. Fans imagined private moments of frustration, moments of doubt, moments of reassurance from close allies. Again, none of this was presented as fact. It was framed as what audiences believe might be happening because it fits familiar emotional arcs. Betrayal, even when unproven, feels powerful because it taps into universal fears. Loyalty, even when assumed, feels comforting for the same reason. Commentary leaned into these universal emotions, making the story feel relatable even without concrete developments. The audience also began questioning itself. Some commenters reflected on how easily they were pulled into speculation. They asked whether consuming this kind of content says more about viewers than about the people being discussed. Creators acknowledged this meta-conversation, suggesting that stories like this reveal the mechanics of modern attention. A rumor doesn't need proof to spread, it needs momentum. And momentum comes from emotional engagement. Fans are shocked when they realize how quickly they move from observer to participant simply by commenting, sharing, or choosing sides. Meanwhile, imagined reactions from the wider circle continued to fill gaps. Viewers speculated about private support messages, quiet check-ins, people choosing to stay offline to avoid being misinterpreted. Every absence was given meaning. Every appearance was analyzed for tone. Even humor in unrelated contexts was scrutinized for hidden messages. This level of analysis wasn't driven by malice as much as by curiosity mixed with investment. People wanted to understand what was happening, even if they acknowledged that they might never know by this point. The narrative felt less like a single controversy and more like a case study in perception. Commentary emphasized that nothing new had been proven, yet everything felt different. Trust felt questioned, even if no accusation was confirmed. Image felt fragile, even if no official challenge was made. The suspense wasn't about what happened. It was about what might be believed next. And as long as belief remained unsettled, the story retained its grip. Viewers stayed tuned, not because they expected immediate answers, but because uncertainty itself had become the driving force, keeping emotions elevated and attention locked in place. As the conversation reached its most intense stage, the story stopped feeling like background noise and started feeling personal for many viewers. Commentary shifted again, this time toward consequences. Not legal or official ones, but emotional and reputational consequences shaped entirely by public perception. Creators talked about how in the modern media cycle, stories do not need conclusions to cause impact. They only need momentum. Fans are shocked by how something unconfirmed can still change how people talk, react, and remember. The narrative had grown beyond the original footage and settled into something heavier. A shared tension that followed every mention of the names involved. Emotions ran high because people began imagining what it feels like to be trapped in a story you did not write but are expected to resolve. Commentary explored the idea that once a rumor reaches a certain scale, denial does not erase it, and silence does not stop it. Either response becomes part of the story. Some creators describe this as the no-win phase, where every option carries risk. Speaking could invite more scrutiny. Staying quiet could invite more suspicion. Fans debated endlessly about which path they would choose if placed in the same position. These debates were not about facts. but about empathy and projection. The dynamic between Erica and the chief of staff continued to be a focal point. Not because of new information, but because viewers kept reading into their public presence. Supporters highlighted moments of calm professionalism, suggesting that stability under pressure sends its own message. Critics questioned whether that same calm felt distant. Commentary made space for both interpretations, emphasizing again that these were reactions, not confirmations. The family was left divided in the emotional sense one last time, with some viewers feeling reassured by consistency and others unsettled by it. The idea of the third person evolved once more. No longer just a mystery figure, it became a symbol of unresolved narratives. Commentators suggested that audiences often create a character when they need somewhere to place uncertainty. The unseen becomes the container for fear, suspicion, and curiosity. Fans acknowledged this openly in comments, saying things like, "Maybe we just want a villain," or "Maybe this is how stories stay alive." This self-awareness did not end the speculation, but it added another layer to it. People knew they were participating in a narrative, and they kept participating anyway. Reaction videos now focused on potential outcomes rather than imagined events. Some speculated that the story would quietly fade as attention moved elsewhere. Others believed one statement, one interview, or one unexpected clip could reignite everything instantly. Commentary used phrases like "this could go either way" or "this feels like the calm before something bigger," not as predictions, but as reflections of how similar stories have played out in the past. Viewers responded strongly to this framing because it acknowledged uncertainty without trying to control it. Fan communities began to show signs of emotional burnout. Some viewers said they were stepping back, muting keywords, and waiting for something concrete. Others admitted that even if they tried, curiosity kept pulling them back in. This push and pull became part of the drama itself. The story was no longer just about the people at its center. It was about the audience's relationship with speculation. Commentary creators pointed this out gently, noting how entertainment-driven news blurs lines between reporting and storytelling imagined. Private moments continued to circulate in softer tones. Instead of heated arguments, viewers now pictured quiet reflection, careful planning, and conversations focused on endurance rather than confrontation. Dialogue shifted from panic to resolve in the collective imagination. Lines like "we just keep moving forward" or "this will pass" appeared in comment sections as people projected resilience onto the situation. These imagined resolutions did not close the story, but they changed its emotional temperature. The chaos of the early days gave way to a steadier, more. What made this phase compelling was that nothing new happened, yet everything felt settled in an uneasy way. The audience had adjusted to uncertainty. They no longer refreshed feeds expecting immediate revelations. Instead, they watched patterns, tones, and timing. Commentary described this as the long tail of modern drama, where impact stretches far beyond the initial spark. Fans are shocked when they realize that the loudest moments are not always the most influential ones. Sometimes it is the quiet persistence of a narrative that leaves the deepest mark by the time this chapter of the story reached its end. The main body of discussion felt complete even without resolution. The footage had sparked curiosity, the reactions had fueled debate, and the prolonged silence had transformed everything into a study of perception. No accusations were proven, no secrets officially revealed, yet the emotional journey had unfolded fully. Trust had been questioned, loyalty had been tested in imagination, and audiences had confronted their own role in amplifying uncertainty. And that is where the story rests for now. Not closed, not exploding, just existing in a suspended state where belief, doubt, and attention coexist. In this space, narratives do not need answers to feel finished. They need only to leave people thinking, talking, and waiting. And as long as viewers remain invested, the story remains alive, shaped not by facts alone, but by the collective emotions of everyone watching from the outside, wondering what, if anything, will finally shift the conversation again. Now it's your turn. You've seen how fast a single clip, a single rumor, and a wave of commentary can turn into a full-blown online storm. Nothing in this story has been confirmed as fact, but the reactions, the theories, and the emotions have been very real. Fans are shocked, opinions are divided, and the conversation keeps evolving with every new take that hits the timeline. Some people believe this will fade away quietly. Others think one unexpected moment could flip everything upside down again. The big question is, what do you think happens next? Do you believe this footage will stay in the realm of online speculation? Or do you think someone will eventually step forward and address the noise directly? Do you see this as a misunderstanding that grew out of control? Or as another example of how perception can become more powerful than reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is being shaped just as much by audience reaction as it is by what people claim is happening behind the scenes. Your voice is part of the discussion. If you've been locked into this breakdown and you want updates the moment new commentary or reactions surface, make sure you like this video. It tells the algorithm that this topic matters and helps this conversation reach more people who are following this story closely. If you're new here, subscribe now so you don't miss the next chapter. Whether it brings clarity, more questions, or a whole new twist nobody saw coming. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you're alerted the second new developments start trending. Stories like this don't end cleanly, they evolve. And the only way to stay ahead of the curve is to stay connected. Keep watching, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going, because in moments like this, the audience isn't just watching the story unfold. You're helping shape what happens next.
Was behind the tent when Charlie got shot, and Mikey, in less than a second, does something that I find to be quite strange. He puts his phone to his ear.
Everything cracked open the moment that grainy clip started circulating online and people realized it wasn't just another rumor. It was another piece of a growing puzzle. Timelines lit up, comment sections exploded, and fans couldn't stop asking the same question over and over again. Who is the third person, and why does this footage matter so much right now? According to multiple online reports and insider-style claims, new footage is being discussed that allegedly shows a mysterious figure standing near Erica and the chief of staff during a moment that was never meant to be public. No one is saying this is confirmed fact, but the sheer number of people reacting to it has turned it into a full-blown online storm. Fans are shocked, critics are skeptical, and supporters are scrambling to make sense of what they're seeing. Some say the clip changes everything, others argue it proves nothing at all. But what's undeniable is the reaction. Emotions ran high as speculation spread, theories collided. Every past interview was suddenly re-examined through a new lens. Whispers of cover-ups, betrayals, and hidden conversations began trending. Not because anyone proved them, but because the possibility alone was enough to ignite chaos. And now, as more commentary videos surface and more screenshots get dissected frame by frame, one thing is clear. Whether true or not, this story has crossed into territory where perception may be just as powerful as reality. And people are watching closely to see who speaks next and who stays silent. The conversation online didn't start with certainty. It started with curiosity. People weren't saying this footage proved anything. They were saying it raised questions they couldn't ignore. According to commentary spreading across social platforms, the clip shows a moment that feels too quiet to be meaningless. A hallway, a pause, a figure lingering just long enough to be noticed. Some viewers say it looks like a coincidence, others insist it feels deliberate. What made the discussion explode wasn't what could be proven, but what people believed they were seeing. Confident were now described as tense. Fans are shocked not because anyone confirmed wrongdoing, but because the narrative they thought they understood suddenly felt unstable. In comment sections, supporter Erica fiercely, saying she equals guilt, but because silence leaves room for imagination. In online spaces, imagination grows fast, behind the scenes. At least according to online chatter, this situation has reportedly caused tension within fan communities themselves. longtime followers found themselves divided, not over facts, but over interpretations. Some felt protective, urging patience and reminding others that rumors thrive on ambiguity. Others felt frustrated, saying that too many unexplained moments had piled up over time. Phrases like "fans are shocked" and "emotions ran high" weren't exaggerations. They reflected how deeply people had emotionally invested in personalities they only knew through screens. It wasn't about politics or policy, it was about perceived authenticity. Believe that what they see publicly is close to the truth, and when that belief wavers, disappointment can turn into suspicion very quickly. Commentary also focused heavily on the idea of the so-called third person, not as a confirmed individual, but as a symbol. Analysts online suggested that this figure represents everything unseen in high-pressure organizations. The meetings not filmed, the conversations off mic, the decisions made quietly. Some creators described it like a reality show twist. The moment when viewers realize there's more happening than what the main cast acknowledges. Dialogues were reenacted in speculative ways, not as claims, but as imagined scenarios. People said things like, maybe this was someone saying, "We need to keep this contained." Or maybe it was someone just passing by at the wrong moment. These dramatized interpretations weren't meant to declare truth, but to explore possibilities. And audiences responded because it felt like a mystery unfolding in real time. Family members and close associates weren't actually speaking publicly, but fans projected reactions onto them anyway. Comments suggested that if this were a show, this would be the episode where everyone retreats to private rooms and phones start buzzing. People imagined tense conversations, raised voices, and emotional confrontations. Even while acknowledging that this was all speculation, the power of the story came from how easily viewers could picture the drama. Years of reality television and online storytelling have trained audiences to fill in gaps with emotion, and this situation fit that mold perfectly. Betrayal, even the hint of it, is one of the strongest hooks in entertainment. And this narrative leaned heavily into that feeling without ever confirming it. What kept the momentum going was how every response, or lack of response, became part of the narrative. When Erica appeared publicly looking calm, supporters said it showed confidence and control. Critics said it looked rehearsed. When the chief of staff lied, some said it was professionalism. Others said it was avoidance. No action was neutral anymore. Even unrelated news was pulled into the discussion as fans tried to connect dots that may not have been connected at all. Commentary creators repeatedly reminded viewers that these were reports and reactions, not verified conclusions, but the emotional weight remained. Once a story reaches this level of attention, disclaimers don't always slow the imagination. By the end of this phase of the discussion, the footage itself almost didn't matter anymore. It had become a catalyst rather than the centerpiece. The real drama lived in the reactions, the theories, and the sense that something once simple now felt complicated. Verdict: they were waiting for a moment, a statement, a clarification, or even a denial that felt personal instead of polished. Until that happens, the story continues to live in the space between what is seen and what is believed. And in that space, speculation thrives, emotions stay elevated, and every new clip or comment feels like it could tip the balance, even if it never actually does. The online reaction didn't slow down after the first wave of speculation, it intensified. Once people accepted that this was being discussed as commentary and not confirmed truth, they felt freer to do side-by-side clips, screenshots, and long threads breaking down moments that previously gone unnoticed. According to commentary, fans began pointing out how often Erica and the chief of staff appeared together during high-pressure moments in the past year. Not as proof of anything improper, but as a pattern that suddenly felt interesting in hindsight. Viewers said things like, maybe this is normal teamwork, or maybe this is why that moment felt tense. Emotions ran high because people were no longer just watching a clip. They were revisiting an entire history with fresh eyes. Reaction videos leaned heavily into storytelling. Creators spoke slowly, dramatically, reminding audiences that these were reports, rumors, and interpretations floating online. They reenacted imagined conversations, not claiming they happened, but asking viewers to picture the pressure. Someone would say, "Imagine being cameras are off." Another voice would reply, "Imagine realizing later that one camera wasn't." Fans are shocked by how quickly a single idea can rewrite memory. Scenes that once felt forgettable now seemed loaded with meaning. Unusual. A laugh sounded shorter. A glance lingered too long. None of this was evidence, but it was compelling and an entertainment-driven commentary. Compelling often matters more than confirmed. Supporters jumped in just as loudly. Many defended Erica, saying that composure under scrutiny has always been her strength. Commentary channels amplified this divide, hitting both sides. One moment they would read skeptical comments aloud. The next, they would showcase defenders pushing back hard. Phrases like "this proves nothing" and "this changes everything" appeared side by side on screen. The story became less about the footage and more about perception. Viewers began to ask themselves uncomfortable questions. How much do we really know about public figures we follow daily? How much of what we believe is shaped by editing, timing, and narrative framing? The so-called third person became a symbol again, but a placeholder for doubt. That unseen presence represented the idea that there is always more happening than what is shown, according to online chatter. Even people who normally avoid drama found themselves drawn in. They described the situation as feeling like the mid-season twist of a reality show, where alliances suddenly feel unstable. Emotions ran high because audiences are trained to expect revelations.